in the Air Force.
It's a summary of aircraft type flying in the Air Force.
And it shows you that I've got 3 hours of B-66 time,
You were in a bomber?
2 hours of KC-135, that's a refueling tanker. F-100, I had 1,012 hours, 0.1 hours. F-4, I had 1 hour.
I didn't know you flew a Phantom.
And UH-1, which is a helicopter, 2 hours. T-33,
That was a training.
400 and
You got almost more hours in the 233 than anything.
No, 1,012 and F-100.
T-30, T-37, C-119, 58 hours, C-123, 5 hours, C-124, 7 hours, U-3s, 245 hours.
What's a U-3? Observational?
Oh, that's you.
Spy plane.
Oh, that's secret stuff. 01, I had 3 hours. 02, I had 1,247 hours. 02Bs, 27 hours. For a total Air Force flying time of 2,658 hours. This was
What was that time span?
in
6 years.
Where did you fly over in a U-3?
I can't talk about that.
I think you can now. I believe you can now.
Is it got a little whiplash or a little whatever there? Can't
All right,
talk
so
about
who
it.
determined how many hours or what? Did you get to pick?
Huh?
Who determined what you flew? Why 1,000 on that plane, but only 3 on another plane?
It's because we used to have to fly 4 hours a month to get paid, flight pay, and we would bum rides on anything we could fly in to get that time for that month.
So they gave you credit if you weren't flying the plane?
So that's so you'd get paid. You flew,
Flight pay, flight
you
pay.
flew it, but
You
that was so you could get paid. You bum rides on anything you could find flying to make sure you got your 4 hours for the month. That's a throw up bag.
Well, I was going to ask you, what do you do with a motion sickness bag in here?
Always carrying a motion
Is
sickness
the
bag.
bag still in there? Ooh, wee, that's worth some money.
This is cruising altitudes for magnetic courses.
Right, that's the rules of the highway.
The Skyway?
Well, and for future generations, you want to tell them what that means?
It means airplanes don't fly the same altitude head on. If you're headed eastbound, you're at certain altitudes. If you're headed westbound, you're at the in-between altitudes.
Well, there's
So
also
that you're going like this as opposed to like this.
well, there's also different traffic patterns too.
Well, traffic patterns, they control every altitude.
Sure.
But
I'm just telling people-
when you're up free flying from New York to Los Angeles,
You're
it's the
higher.
skyways. It's like being on the autostrada, the autobahn, and the airplanes aren't going like this; they're going like this.
Sure.
Okay, so when you're up in the air, did you ever, like on the roads, would you ever see airplanes? Like, would you pass
Oh
airplanes?
yeah,
Would you, like,
yeah.
I do when
rode
I'm
in the
up there.
sky?
Sure, even I've seen
You'd
that.
be behind airplanes. He's contrailing up there. You're down here just watching it.
They just gotta make sure they're not on the same.
You'd be shocked how many planes are up over the U.S. at every hour.
Oh, you can see them on the
There's
news. already.
about more than 1,000.
So lots of people up there in the air getting nervous.
Yeah,
Lots of people.
I believe this is the last one in this box to look
More
at.
than you ever believe, huh?
Yeah, that's
This
true.
is a
That's Kimberly Drive right there. I looked at it already.
Auckland Street.
Oh, is it? All right, I got the wrong book.
That's your parents' home, isn't it? Auckland?
Yep, Rockland Drive.
What was home when he was in college?
Here's the Kimberly Drive book I was looking at. That's the one we already looked at, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you were first up in the Cessnas from your parents' place?
No, this is actually where I started flying F1. I started F-100 training, but I had to start off back in T-33 again, because that was the program you
Well,
flew
you
20
and Dad had to
hours
be-
in T-33 before you got into the F-100s. You want to make sure you could fly on instruments by yourself.
Everybody want you talking? Excuse me, Abby? But this isn't Morgan's. This is the family bag. Why did I call her Morgan?
I don't know, I thought, does Morgan like you, Kathy, when she comes in?
No. I can't stop calling her Morgan.
His
1962
name really is
was my first
Caroline. Which one? Because Bella is
F-100 ride.
Savannah. Oh,
Bella Celine.
What'd you fly before the 100s in the Air Force?
Air.
Just the T's? You were flying just T's until then?
No, I was flying training there, T-33s and T-37s, T-34s, and so forth. Then,
now you
see, to go on the F-100, you had to first demonstrate to them that you could fly on instruments. They put us in the back seat of a T-33 underneath the hood, and we flew for 20 hours. Instrument procedures underneath, no outside references at all.
Bella's got a
Point
bell
A to
that
point
puts
B.
Where's
Practice
Bella?
approaches.
Bell.
Then once you proved you could really handle an airplane, they put me in a simulator, F-100, one cockpit simulator. I flew that for 6 hours to handle the F-100 bit. And then I started my F-100 training. They put you in the two-seat F-100. You fly the front seat, and you fly so many hours, demonstrate such proficiency, in the takeoffs and landings and the procedures and so forth for doing the same. And then they put you out solo. Here's where I had my first F-100 solo flight on January 26, 1962. And it was just for 1 hour.
Were you nervous?
Sure.
That's nice to know, isn't it?
Then they put you back in the F-100F. And then back to a solo flight again. And then we started the local stuff. You start flying formation, and then you go to the gunnery range. 4-ship, you got an instructor leading in one airplane, and 3 students in the other 3 airplanes. You go to the gunnery range.
What do you mean firing range?
You do strafing, you do skip bombing, which is like napalm. You do dive bombing, and you do rockets.
So then how did you, when you, in the simulator, how did they train you to like handle rough weather, the turbulence, and when you're really on the ground? How do you know?
They bounce the simulator around like rough weather while you're in there flying.
And it felt like it? So
Yeah.
would they
Oh, yeah.
drop you so you knew how to
Yeah,
handle
that thing, I'm telling you, I sweated more in the simulator than I sweated in the airplane.
That's how they decide whether you're gonna be able to go up or not.
They got those things on 6 degrees of freedom, big giant spiders like Star Wars stuff you see.
And that's where people wash out. They can't handle it, so you're out of here.
Yep. A lot of that stuff.
We got a lot of people that washed out of the Air Force. As pilots.
More so in pilot training.
Mm-hmm.
Like we lost about 2 guys in the Navy. Well, when we were at Moore Air Base, I
In
lost at
Oklahoma.
least, we lost 50% of the
In
class.
Oklahoma, yeah.
No, at Texas,
Okay.
at primary pilot training. Once you get past that, the basic pilot training, we lost only, out of my class of, let's say,
They got sent
Right,
home.
yes.
my class was 100 guys, split into 2 sections of 50, and we lost maybe four guys total in Oklahoma. But in primary training, we lost about 50% of the class.
I know you used to come home and say, so-and-so's going home.
Well, that's why I tell the stories why that first 6 months of training we did down in Texas, my class was 100 Air Force Academy guys, 3 ROTC guys,
What you were.
and 1 Naval Academy guy, and 1 Army
West Point.
West Point graduate. After the 6 months down in Texas, there were 50 ROTC guys,
Half of them gone.
50. No, I'm telling the story wrong. After that, I said there were 100 Air Force Academy guys, 3 ROTC guys, 1 and 1 for the academies. After the 6 months, there were 50 Air Force Academy guys, 3 ROTC guys,
So the ROTC guys all
1 and 1 still.
There was an Air Force Academy that couldn't handle it.
So did they ever?
They all came to pilot training with their Corvettes and everything like that, fresh out of Air Force Academy with their already had navigator wings, ready to go. And then, oh, by the way, we're not going to tell you when to go to bed, when to get up, or when to study, or when not to study. And they're down there on that border town. It went crazy.
Mexico.
Yep. Spent every night over in Mexico and having a good time.
Did you ever land at one of the planes on the battleships? Did you ever
On a
land?
battleship, no.
That's the Navy.
I was wondering.
Well, nobody lands on a battleship plane,
I
Pam.
do in Top Gun.
That's an aircraft carrier.
That's why I'm
Aircraft
like,
carrier.
did they land?
A battleship? How do you land on a turret? I'm keeping that comedy gold in here.
On a ship. Well, one of those ships.
Uh, it's an aircraft carrier.
Where you're supposed to land when you're out in the middle of the ocean.
Well, did you ever do that?
Air Force guys don't have to land on ships.
Right if you did.
Thank you. That concludes one briefcase. 5 more to go.
Whoa!
Well, the important one is the big Air Force one in there. I can show you where I made the flights to Alaska, where I made the flights to Turkey, or
Well, why didn't you?
that's the fault. Well, without taking time to go through it piecemeal.
Look at these, and now
All right,
the company
I'll stop this
wants-
video and we'll get another video for
Well,
that.
is this even locked?
Yes, there's keys. The keys are right
I
here.
made the flight to India,
Keys are right here.
Saudi Arabia,
Ruse.
Spain,
Italy.
Italy.
Okay,
Myrtle Beach.
we'll look at this record on a separate video.